Welcome to the ninth grade experience. I'm your host, Chris Dutchko. As a teacher of freshmen and one of our freshman mentor committee faculty advisors, I spend a lot of my school day thinking about and helping students with the successful transition from middle school to the halls of Emmaus High School. The goal of this podcast is to give you the story of the ninth grade here at Emmaus High School through the people who live it daily, the students and staff. We will attempt to touch on the real issues and stories that ninth grade students face, ranging from academics to athletics, technical school, and just trying to find your way as one person in a community of approximately 2,700 students. We will also look to speak with some of the influential staff members who play a key part in a student's ninth grade year. It is the hope that future ninth grade students and their families can use the tips and insights provided here to begin making connections to their potential new school and learn more about the day-to-day lives of the students that they will one day become and realize from day one that ninth grade counts. You can learn more about this episode and all of the episodes of the ninth grade experience by following us on Twitter at EHSFMC or at Chris Stutchko, or following the hashtag EHS9counts, or our website, sites.google.com/eastpennsd.org/ninth grade experience. Before we jump into today's topic, let's thank our sponsor for this show, the East Penn Education Foundation. This podcast has been made possible through a $1,000 grant awarded to teachers like me each year who are attempting to do unique projects in the area of science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. The foundation supports programs that put learning in motion by giving students the tools they need to think actively in a complex and changing world. You can follow them on Facebook at EPSD Education Foundation, on Twitter at EPSD EdFound, or on Instagram at EPSD Ed Foundation. Now on to the show. Welcome to this week's episode of the Ninth Grade Experience podcast. So we have a new guest on today for her first time here. So we have Miss Bauer, the school librarian at Emmaus High School, who wanted to come on and kind of tell some things about what she's been up to here during the COVID-19 shutdown. And then also at the end of the episode, give us information on a pretty cool partnership with some local business, with a local business that's going in partnership with the school district to try to get people actively reading and doing some awesome stuff with that. So Miss Bauer, thanks a lot for joining us today.
You are very welcome. Nice to be here.
So it's been a little bit of time here since we've had a guest on, a new guest. We've had a lot of repeat guests and a lot of students. But normally when we have a new guest on for the first time, we ask them to describe their ninth grade experience. So I always tell the adults, I say, you do not have to identify what year you were in ninth grade, and you don't have to identify what specific school you were at unless you want to. But talk to us a little bit about what your ninth grade experience was like, and then we'll kind of see if it's similar to what ninth graders are going through today.
Well, let's just say that my experience was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. We'll leave it at that. But I don't mind telling you it was at Parkland High School, the old Parkland High School before it went to Taj Mahal status, which I'll tell you, I was very, very excited to go. Parkland High School, the old one, was really close to my house, and I'd pass it constantly in anticipation of going to high school. So I couldn't wait to go. I wanted to walk. They wouldn't let me walk because my house was on the other side of the road, but I was all excited to, possibly be able to walk. I did not want to take the bus anymore. This was before the days when everybody had a car. So, busing was my only option there. So it was busing or walking. But anyway, it was really to say it was an experience would be an understatement. I think my graduating class had 1,600 kids in it.
Wow.
And didn't know the person to my right or to my left. So coming into that building, 9 to 12, it was just overrun with people I didn't know, most of whom were much, much taller and larger than I was. But it was interesting. I was in a lot of the honors classes, so I mostly got to see those kids. Didn't get to mix a whole lot. My mom worked at the at the high school in the cafeteria, so I was able to check in with her all the time, which I absolutely loved, which probably made me a total dork. But I got a lot of, I'll tell you what, I got a lot of dates that way. I would tell my mom to give so-and-so an extra slice of pizza, and that worked out very well for me as my high school experience continued. But I have to tell you, probably the worst thing that ever happened to me in my entire school life, and that's a really long life because I've gone to a couple of different colleges, that happened, I'd say, week 3 of my freshman year. I was in honors biology. And if anybody knows anything about how Parkland works, there are 2 middle schools. One that is a little, shall we say, more affluent than the other. And they come together, both of those. And I was from the non-affluent high school, coming in my, farmer's overalls and my clogs and all those things that we wore back in the day. And it turned out in my honors bio class, there were only 2 of us from my middle school, and all the rest of the students were from the other. So I really didn't know anybody in that class. I didn't even know the other girl from my middle school very well. And we were asked to do a in front of the class report. And I've never been, at least up to that point, I was never very comfortable speaking in front of people. But I got my information together. We had to have a visual. I got that together. I think I did continental drift. And when I got up in front of the class, and I had specifically asked the other girl from my middle school, please don't be absent that day because I'm going to look at you.
Yeah.
You are not there. My focal point will be gone. And of course she was absent. So I was mortified, and I got up there. I was the last person to go in that particular class period on that day. And I passed out. I hit my head on the slate lab table, knocked myself unconscious, and I'm told, I wasn't obviously awake to know this, but I'm told I was pulled into the center of the classroom by my ankles by the teacher, who got smelling salt, stuffed them up my nose, and I had to finish my report lying down, no lie. I'm pointing, upwards at this visual that one of the cheerleaders was holding and trying to get through this. And then as soon as that was over, we had an assembly. So the word got out that I am the fainting freshman faster than you can say, Miss Bauer. So that kind of followed me around for a little while, and I was pretty self-conscious about that. But, once you've gone through something like that, everything else is cake. So that kind of kicked it off. That's what I remember about my freshman year, that I was scared, and it was big, and I was excited, and I was quickly put in my place by biology.
By biology, yeah. And it's interesting, like, and having a lot of these conversations with people, like, it's very interesting how vivid people remember certain events from their 9th grade year. Like, you could tell, I know, the podcast today is available audio and video. And like, if people were watching the video, they could see, like, you could actually see, like, the way that you're retelling the story, you could see, like, those memories kind of coming back. You could kind of see it. You were like feeling like that experience like all over again. And it's really interesting. Like, and we kind of talk to our freshmen about that all the time, that like, the stuff that you do in 9th grade does matter, and it will maybe stick with you. And that's a story that you'll probably never forget. You'll probably, I'm sure telling it over time that it's gotten a little bit easier to tell, and it's kind of gotten probably funnier as the years have gone on. But, in the moment, I'm sure it was a pretty, mortifying story. Like, do you remember how long it took you to overcome the fainter label?
A couple months, I think. But I'll tell you what, I remember the people who were kind to me when it happened. I remember the people who consoled me and who stuck with me, and those people ended up being my friends for the rest of my high school career. So it was a kind of a friend finding time, as well as a time that was kind of embarrassing. So everybody lives. The moral of the story is I lived, and I went and took a lot of classes on how to speak to other people in front of crowds. So I figured if I wanted to be a teacher, that's something I better get a handle on pretty quickly. So it kind of showed me what I was made of, I thought, because I was either going to rise above that or not. And hopefully I rose above it, and I got some good friends out of it. And I just remember people's reactions to it, whether they were kind or not kind. And I think that stuck with me. And my teacher's comments on my paper, fainting spell, was quite unique. Okay. Was
And
it?
it's funny. And it's funny in this day where we're giving kids feedback all the time, like that's what we're doing now in this fourth marking period, that you remember the exact feedback. And you know,
Mhm.
maybe I don't know if in 2020 a teacher would write exactly that feedback on the paper, but for you to remember exactly what it said on the
Mhm.
paper for that project is it's pretty powerful, and kind of talks about like how influential your ninth grade year can be. So did that event, or was there anything that kind of led you to um, kind of assume the role that you're in now? So you're the school librarian, the head librarian. Was that kind of what you had always set out to be? Like, how did you kind of get yourself interested in that particular job? And like, you don't have like the opportunity to see like people in a classroom all the time, but you get to see all 2,800 of the kids that might pass through the library. So kind of give us a little indication about why school librarian, and kind of, you know, how you kind of ended up in that role.
I think I've always pretty much wanted to be a teacher of some sort. I just wasn't really sure in what subject, like where my concentration would be. And I think that experience early in high school pretty much told me it's not going to be science. I mean, I always liked science. I really always liked science, but right there and then, I think I decided that was out. And I've never been although I've been in honors math, I just wasn't something I was attracted to. But my other funny story of high school actually feeds into this question. I had written a term paper, my very first. That's what we used to call research papers, term papers.
Mhm.
And it was actually stolen. And it was found in, no, I can't even make this stuff up. It was found in the boys' locker room at Parkland High School. And the teacher pulled me in, and he was trying to figure out, if somehow I, gave a copy of my paper to somebody, which I was so shy and I would never ever have done anything like that. Cop's daughter. I'm such a good girl.
Yeah.
So we realized that someone had gotten into his filing system in his room. And so I figured if my paper was so good that somebody wanted to steal it to kind of figure out how to write a research paper, then I must be pretty good. And I got a good grade on it. So I was like, I was really encouraged with the feedback again that I got from that incident and my English teacher. So I got really into English. And then fast forward 20 some years into my career as an English teacher, I kind of was running out of classes. As you know, we have to take a certain number of classes to stay accredited
Yeah.
every year. And I think I went through everything Kutztown had to offer. That this was kind of before there was so much online available. And I kind of always preferred to take rather than just a credit here and a credit there. I'd like to be in a program. I like the consistency of a program. So I was thinking about history, and I settled on trying a library course, and love at first experience. I just loved it. And I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. So I taught English while I was taking classes to go to be a librarian. It's kind of simultaneously. And then I had to make a choice. Am I going to stay, with the high school English, or am I going to bump over? And I just thought, what a nice way to break your career up a little bit. I still get to see English. I still help with English. I think English and social studies are probably our two best customers in the library. And those are the two subjects I like the best. So it's not like I'm totally turning my back on English. But I think I just decided that to stay fresh and not get stale in English, I would jump ship, jump schools, and try that for the remainder of my career. So I'm glad I did. I really like it.
So on a daily basis, how many people can you estimate, and maybe you have an exact number, but an estimate, how many people come through the library on a daily basis?
Oh my gosh, that's hard to say. I would say at least 25, 30 people per period. Some are more than that. It just depends. I know some periods have more study hall kids, available in the school than others. Period 1 tends to be light. Period 8 tends to be crazy. Do you mean people who just come through, or people who talk to me?
I was just going to kind of give an estimate. So like you would maybe see between like 200 and 300 student faces a day. And now in the, the COVID-19 shutdown, like now you're not technically seeing anyone, or maybe you are, maybe you have some, like, what's going on with you. Like, and I know you were talking before we started recording about office hours and some other stuff. So I'm just trying to get a gauge now of like, so you got to see people every day. You had people coming through asking for help with research. You had people asking for book recommendations and lots of the other stuff that you guys do in the library and in the new library as it's kind of grown over the last couple of years. But I'm just kind of curious now as to like, so for our students or parents that are listening, so what is the school library offering now, or what are you up to?
Well, yeah, I did see, like I said, maybe 20, 30 study hall kids a period. That's not counting classes and kids who just would come in and out to check books in and out or to talk to me. But I think it's funny now. I do have office hours every day at 3 o'clock, but I'm not seeing those same numbers in the office hours. I'm getting contact with kids mostly through email. I don't know if they're afraid to encounter me online. It's so easy in the library just to come in and like poke your head in the door and, Miss Bauer, can you point me here? Miss Bauer, am I doing this right? Miss Bauer, and they give me a little, come over with the finger, and it's just a quick encounter, and they seem much more comfortable doing that. But the online scenario, it doesn't seem like that's the case. That they almost seem to prefer the anonymity of the email. Just a quick question here or there. I'm not sure why that is, but.
And what are students reaching out about? So like if they're sending you an email, what are they trying to get, or what kind of information?
I've had questions about some of the things are simple, like how do I get access to this or that? Or, how do I do certain actions on Noodle Tools, or I've never been on Noodle Tools before. Can you help me get started with that? Or you sent this screencast out to a certain teacher, and is there anything else beyond what you put on the screencast? So I've tried these resources, that didn't quite work. Can you give me another database to try? Which is certainly a valid question. On most of the screencasts, I've included kind of some of the basic, easier to use databases. Kids who want things that are a little bit more complicated, they're asking questions about that. I've had, trying to think what else they've asked me about.
I was going to ask you in a little bit about book recommendations, but I don't know. Are kids asking?
I've had kids asking for primary sources. They don't know how to get their book. They didn't have a book for their research paper, or they returned it. How do I get a book? Where do I go now? Or I've tried, this resource and it doesn't have my book. Now what? That kind of thing.
So we do have Josh Jones, who is a student who's been on several of the different podcasts. He just kind of turned his camera back on. I didn't know if he had a question about anything. Or Josh, you can kind of chime in here if you'd like. Do you ever use the library, go into the library to see Miss Bauer?
Not much.
Not much. So, we'll hear from a little bit more from Josh a little bit later in the episode too. But if he has anything that he's going to add in about the library stuff and just kind of checking in, but we have a lot of students that just kind of check in there when they need something for a project or for other things like that. So, I'm sure you have a pretty steady client base that comes in and just maybe checks in to say hi. But I was kind of curious, is anyone reaching out, or do you have any recommendations? So I know that students are doing work and we're all kind of doing a lot of stuff at home, but what if I just want to actually read a book for enjoyment and not for a class? Like, what if I'm a student at Emmaus High School, and is there a way that I can do that to get books online through our school? Like, what can I access and how can I do that? And do you have any suggestions for things that I could be looking at now?
Well, we have, as you know, a lot of books, and unfortunately, it's not possible to get access to anything we have physically, or even our playaways that we have in our back office to check out. But we do have a service called Sora and Overdrive. Actually, Overdrive is the resource that you would use, like, let's say, on your laptop or your tablet, and then Sora is the app that goes along with that, and you can get books and read them online, or you can get audiobooks as well. So if you like to walk, Mr. Stuchko and I were talking a little bit about my crazy dog before this whole thing started, and I try to take daily walks, otherwise she's going to drive me insane. And I can get some things through Sora, and I can read that way. So we do have a service. Everybody, that would be all the schools in the district, pay a little bit to have that service. So it's a district-wide kind of thing. And that's absolutely available through the Emmaus High School library website.
So yeah, I was just going to ask how people access it. So they just go onto the library website and then they could be able to find that. And then will they need like their school ID number and password, or how would they?
Regular school credentials. So you would just go on to the library website and into Destiny, and there's a link right near the top of the page, and you can get right in there. And it's really easy. And you can download Sora on your phone. As long as you have credentials to log on to a computer at Emmaus, you can get on to Overdrive or Sora.
So I know that when the shutdown began, I think a lot of people made lists of like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this. And I'm sure most people included, I want to read more, I want to read books.
That'd be great.
Is there anything that you have read? So now this is our 6th or 7th week. I don't know, I'm losing count, but we've been off for a while. Is there anything that you have read in the time that you would recommend to students, or anything that you would recommend even maybe to parents that are listening, things that, to take the break from like Tiger King and all the other things on Netflix and just getting away from the electronics? Is there anything you would recommend that maybe you've had a chance to look at?
Well, I was trying to make a book order. I've been working on going through some of the library journals over the last week or so, and I only to find out that we're not going to be able to put a book order in through the school, which is one of the reasons we're having the book fair, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But going through some of those journals, I have come upon some things that I think are kind of exciting, and I'm going to definitely put them out as recommendations for the book fair as well. I tend to like creepy psychological suspense kind of stuff. That's me. I'm always into the scary stuff. So there are actually a couple of things that are coming out that are pretty cool. If you're a Stephen King fan, I love Stephen King, and I know a lot of students are also fans, but I think the last couple things he's had out have been really long. And even when they made the remake of the movie, a lot of the kids came into the library to check out that book, and I made sure that we had a couple of copies of that. And kids would take one look at the book and just about pass out because the book is like this. And
yeah, super long.
Well, that's cool for me. It's kind of daunting. Kids were so excited, and I hated to see that excitement crushed. So there's actually a Stephen King book that is coming out in May. I think it's mid-May, and it's called If It Bleeds. And rather than just one gigantic novel, this is 4 novellas in a book. So you can sit down and kind of in a sitting read each one of those and not feel so completely overwhelmed. And what's really cool is all the criticism that's coming out about that right now says that it's like vintage Stephen King. Like the King that you and I might have fallen in love with back in the day, when we were reading Carrie and The Shining and all those kind of cool things. Like it's got that old school Stephen King kind of feel to it. So I'm excited about that. And I, not too long ago, finished reading a book called Then She Was Gone, which is about a child abduction, which I don't have children myself, but for some reason that's endlessly fascinating to me. I think I just feel really protective in the teacher role of all kids, and I get really upset when I think something's happening to them. So I finished reading that Lisa Jewell book, and apparently there's another book, different author coming out. Let's check the author here, Jennifer Hillier, and the book's called Little Secrets. So this is also about an abduction and kind of a peek into the marriage in the family where the child's abducted. All these secrets kind of come to light. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. But there are a lot of other things out there too. If you're not a creepy crawly kind of fan, there's a really good book called Clap When You Land about 2 sisters who don't know they're sisters. They have a father, and each one is unaware that they share the father. And there's an accident involving this father, plane accident, and this information comes out. It's kind of interesting, more of a coming of age, realistic book. But there are a bunch of things that are coming out that I'm going to be putting out again as part of the book fair promotion. So there will be things available.
So before we get into the book fair stuff, Josh, have you had a chance to read anything? Or I don't know if you're a reader, do you have a certain type of book, or you've just been kind of doing your schoolwork and then kind of Just keeping busy with all your other stuff.
I've been reading the book called The King of Mulberry Street.
Okay.
Oh,
And that is for your, is that for your social studies class?
Yeah, our teacher told us that we were going to be reading it, but then she said that they decided that we weren't required to read it, but then I decided to just read it because I didn't have anything to read.
That's pretty interesting, though. It's one that's generally used with immigration. Yeah, it's an interesting book.
So just, I don't think they were going to do it this year. I know in the past, I've actually been on a field trip that the American Studies class takes to Mulberry Street. So they actually take you through. So it is a real place. If you didn't know that, you can go up there, you can see it all. What they refer to it as, yep, it's in New York City. And it's at the time of the book, it was more of a Little Italy type area, but now it's like a small little bit of Italy and a large bit of Chinatown is all around it. But it's really interesting. You can walk, like you can literally walk through, and we did this on a tour. Mrs. Lobner and Miss Montero took us through the tour up there, and it was really, really cool. They took us, you could basically like follow the book and follow the streets, and like, you know, the streets are all still named the same up there. So that's it's a good book. It's a good story, and it's, you know, stuff that really happened. So, you know, that's great that you decided to read that, even though you guys didn't have to as a class. So again, you know, as Miss Bauer is pointing out, like making sure you're reading and getting stuff done, doing, you know, keeping your mind active on that too. So nothing else you've been, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to ask him if he ever read The Hunger Games. Were you a fan of that when that came out at all?
No, I haven't read that.
Not so much, because I was going to say, I almost forgot to mention the prequel. They actually made a prequel book to that, and that's dropping in May as well. So students who were really into that series, that'll be interesting.
All right. So Mrs. Bauer mentioned in the previous part about a book fair that's coming up. So that was one of the other reasons that we wanted to have Miss Bauer on today. This is they just started publicizing this on like the East Penn School District Twitter. It's going to be on the library webpage. So it's a partnership with Let's Play Books in Emmaus. So it's an online book fair in the middle of May, and I'll let Miss Bauer tell you a little bit about it, as she was one of the people that helped to plan it for the district.
Oh, thank you. I'm really excited to be able to work with Let's Play Books. I believe the middle school, one of the middle schools, or both the middle schools, actually use Let's Play Books as vendors. And I know we have one of the owner's daughters in our high school, which is really nice. But they did something, and I just want to kind of throw this out there because it was so nice of them, and makes me really happy that we can kind of help their business too during this whole COVID time. But back last year, gosh, I guess it was May of 2019, we did a scavenger hunt in the school with pet rocks. I don't know if you remember that, Mr. Suchko. We had kids combing the halls looking for pet rocks, and then there were prizes that were associated with each of those. Well, back in, gosh, I guess the months prior to May, when I was kind of combing the streets of Emmaus looking for donations, sponsors for these prizes, I had a cast on my leg, and I was dragging this cast all up and down Main Street. And Let's Play Books, they were so generous. The owner was so nice, gave us not just one, but two gift cards, nice ones for winners. So she was so nice about that. So we're really happy to be able to work with them. And the book fair is going to be from May 11th to the 22nd, and then delivery for at least most of the books will be from June 2nd to 5th. So the nice thing about this is it's all of the libraries are together in this. So anybody, even people who aren't in East Penn School District, if they have a student with whom they can like identify, I guess, because the deliveries are going to come right to the door. There won't be any shipping fee on this. There'll be some, you know, the tax, but no shipping. And we're going to deliver the books right to the students' doors. So hopefully we can get, you know, some people reading some interesting things. They'll take a look at our book recommendations, and they'll, you know, be inspired. And you can also even donate a book if you don't want to read yourself, but you know someone who is a reader. Maybe someone's having a birthday coming up, or you just want to donate something to one of the schools for somebody who may not financially be able to get a book. For elementary, it's $6 to donate a book, $9 for middle school, and then $13 for a book at, you know, at the high school level.
So will I, like, if I wanted to order books, because like I've been looking to purchase some books, or if I'm an adult and I want to purchase books for myself to read, will I be eligible to buy some books during that time and have them delivered as well?
You could, anybody, you don't have to, you don't even have to be connected with a school like you are if you don't want to. I think they're just going to ask you to connect a student's name to it when you do that, or if you're a teacher there, I'm sure they'll take, they'll take your name also, but connect it to somebody who works at the building. And then there's a special code. It's going to be capital EPSD for East Penn School District, and then 20. And when you either call up, and the phone number's on the Let's Play Books website. If you either call up or you can go on their website and order the books and use that code,
and then you'll be able to, they'll deliver it during that time. So that's a really great opportunity. And I know that, especially now with the shutdowns of businesses, and I know they, in looking at their Twitter page, I know they applied to be an essential business, and bookstores were not deemed an essential business. So they've been closed, but they are, I know they are delivering, and they're trying to keep that order, intact. And when they open back up, they're located on Chestnut Street right there off the Triangle. I know they moved in the last couple of years to a different location, but they're located right there on Chestnut Street in the heart of town. And I know they sponsor like author visits, and they sponsor lots of different cool stuff in the community. So it's a great opportunity for the school librarians to kind of come up with this neat idea to kind of pitch in. I know it helps them, it helps us. It's kind of like one of those things, and we could all stand to read a little bit more. So it's a pretty cool opportunity to kind of, help the community out and do that as well. So, Ms. Bauer,
the commercial should be out any day now. I'm going to be putting it on the website later on today, but the librarians kind of all got together and we did a little video clip and a nice little still holding a sign. And Miss Weller from Willow Lane. Oh my gosh, I can't even think. From Willow Lane, she spliced the whole thing together, so that'll be out soon. And again, if you want to know the full details, just go to Let's Play Books, their main page, and there's a little link there, and it'll give you everything you need to know.
And that's awesome. And it'll be a great way, hopefully it's a success there. So you have a couple weeks to get yourself ready for it, go on and search around for the books, and, they can get basically any book there at Let's Play Books. From, if I remember correctly, I was just like on their website, you can find all different stuff, and then they'll hunt it down for you. No need to go to one of the big retailers for the next couple of weeks. Save up your book orders, go to Let's Play Books, and then you'll get it delivered right to your door in the beginning of June there. So right in time for the summer reading, no matter if we're, in the house for the summer, or at the beach for the summer, or at your backyard inflatable pool for the summer, you'll have some new good summer reading books there for you to take a look at. So, I don't know, Ms. Bauer, is there anything else you want to leave with our students or families here as we kind of tie up your portion here, and then we'll kind of go in for a quick student check-in with Josh here at the end? But anything you want to kind of tell the families or tell the students kind of as we kind of wind down here and kind of look towards the end of the school year for you?
I guess just that I miss you. I miss you all. I miss being in school. I miss seeing the flow of traffic in the library. I miss teaching the classes there. I miss everything about it. I really love my job. It's hard to be home without all that activity, but I am here. So if you do need help, I do have office hours. Like I said, they're on the website. There's the link for the meet, and you can see me any day you want. If you need to ask me something or want to ask me something in person, I would be more than happy to help you. If you'd like a book recommendation, I can give you one of those too. Like I said, I will be putting some up with the Let's Play Books. That should go up on the Let's Play Books website. At least that's what I'm understanding fairly soon. So if you want something more individualized than that, just ask. I'd be more than happy.
All right. So thanks, Ms. Bauer, for that. So we'll get into our student check-in here with Josh here. I know he's been waiting patiently, kind of chiming in. I don't know if he's, maybe he's there trying to figure out what books he wants to order, or, who knows what he's up to. Oh, his eyes just bugged out of his head when I said order books. So maybe not, but, maybe somebody that's...
You have next year too, if you have reading workshops. So if you don't want to read over the summer, you can maybe find something that you like and hold on to it and use it for reading workshop.
So that's a good idea for next year. So Josh, why don't you fill us in a little bit? I know you've been a pretty faithful student contributor here for the last couple of weeks, just kind of letting us know how things are going. So how is how is it now that we're into the fourth marking period and we're like I said, we're kind of playing for keeps now a little bit. So, you know, you have to get the work done for your pass fail grade. So have you kind of seen an increase in the work? How's it been going for you?
Pretty good.
So at this point, like you know, like all students, you're aware at this point that like the fourth marking period is pass fail. If you fulfill all the different requirements for the academics, you can earn up to 5 points on your final grade. So it gives you an incentive to kind of keep going here. You know, the weather hasn't been that great this week, so you've had a pretty good incentive to just kind of stay in the house. You know, as we're recording it right now, it's like the wind is whipping and it looks like it's going to rain, but hasn't started yet. So, so how has other things been, Josh? You know, I know we've talked in the past about you keeping up with your scout troop on Zoom and other things like that. How's that still going?
Good.
And, you know, over the time here, has there been anything that you've kind of like, anything changed or any opinions changed about the whole thing? I know it's been kind of, you know, now that we're 6 or 7 weeks into the learning and all that stuff, like, are you tired of online school yet?
Not really. Just tired of being in the house so much.
Yeah, it's you know, they're starting to relax some of the rules and some of the spots here. I've seen a lot of talk and about, you know, gatherings and all this other stuff. Not necessarily in Pennsylvania, but you know, all over the country. So I think people are getting the beginnings of cabin fever and kind of any hope that we can to get out. I think people are going to hopefully take all the precautions and all the other stuff. So I'm just trying to think if there's anything else, Josh, that you want to kind of chime in or check in with us on or kind of let us know how things are going.
Oh yeah. Can you repeat the dates for the book fair?
Wow, yeah, great plug there. Go ahead, Ms. Bauer.
Go, Josh. Okay, so the book fair itself runs from May 11th to May 22nd. And then the delivery date for most of the books will be from June 2nd to the 5th. And I'm told that if you ask for a book or you put an order in for a book, that Let's Play Books realizes right up front that they're not going to be able to get. I'm sure the COVID-19 thing is going to mess some flow up with some of the book companies. They're going to tell you right away. But I think for the most part, they're going to be really happy to be able to get you what you want.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
So again, so you have that'll be up on the school. It'll be up on the East Penn or the Emmaus High School Library website. It's up on the East Penn Twitter. You know, it's up there right now. I'm sure as the commercial goes up, that'll go pretty. You know, that'll be out there for people to see too. We'll have this episode up. We'll let Let's Play Books know that we did this. You know, this wasn't like an infomercial for them or anything, but it's just another great opportunity. You know, we've seen all these different things of ways people in our community are helping the community members out, whether it's, you know, making masks or, you know, being those first responders, you know, working in the hospitals or the grocery stores. I've seen so many students that I know that are upperclassmen working at the Giant, working at local businesses that now they're like helping out with their families. So this is just another small example of a way that, you know, our tight-knit Emmaus community kind of gives back to itself, trying to help each other out there. So Josh, you're good. Anything else?
No.
Not okay. You know, little man, a few words this week, not a whole lot to add in. He's just kind of going with the flow there and kind of, you know, our always dependable Josh to kind of come and check in the student voice. And then Miss Bauer, her first appearance on the podcast. So thanks a lot for joining us. Yeah, so enjoy your rest of the week, everybody. And then we'll talk to you again next week.